This is a sort of Brucey bonus from a uh, viewer who is doing IB mathematics exams coming up, and this is a fairly typical question that she's been given, and she's asked me how would she do this. So 3 cell phone towns are located at arbitrary units, so whether this is kilometers or meters, we don't really care. Assuming the land is flat, big assumption, but we'll assume it. All 3 signals travel at the same speed. All 3 signals travel at the same speed without obstruction. So, i.e., there's no heat disparities between them, and they all go at the speed of light. Find the coordinate of Sanjay's phone. Now, Sanjay says he picks all 3 up simultaneously at the same time, so he must be therefore equidistant to all of these cell towers, B, A, and C. So he must be kind of somewhere here, I guess. Okay, how are we going to find that out? Well, the quickest way to find it out is to do the perpendicular bisector for 2 of them. We don't need to do all 3, although you could do 3 and you'll get the same answer. And where they cross, that must be where he is. Okay, so let's do AB. Let's find midpoint of AB, and that's going to be midpoint AB is going to be 1 plus 3. Remember these? Well, here 1 plus 3 over 2, and this is all in one bracket, and then comma, then the D numbers 2 plus 4 over 2. So it's going to have a midpoint here of 4 over 2, which is going to be 2, comma, 2 plus 4 is 6, divided by 2 is 3. So it's going to be at the point 2, 3. So 2, 3. So at that point there, and that, if you look at it, that kind of makes sense. Okay, now we're going to be looking for the midpoint, and we're going to make it B and C. Okay, so midpoint B and C is going to be 3 plus 5 over 2, because that's the x coordinates for B and C, and it's going to be 4 plus nothing over 2 for that one. So this point, which is a midpoint between B and C, is going to be 8 over 2, which is 4 over 2, which is 2. Okay. So now that we know the midpoint, we want to know if we drew a line between them. Of course, we would just draw the line between them, but we want to draw a perpendicular line to that gradient going through the midpoint. Okay, so remember the formula: the gradient of the original times the gradient of the perpendicular equals -1. So therefore, and remember, if it's 1 over 2, the perpendicular gradient is going to be -2 over 1. It's going to go negative and they're going to flip. So with that said, the perpendicular perpendicular gradient of A and B is going to be equal to negative and be 1 minus 3 over 2 minus 4. Now we've got a little bit of a problem with our addition and subtraction, but it's negative 1 plus 3, so that's positive 2 over negative 2, which is negative 1. So that's our perpendicular for our bisector perpendicular A and B. So in other words, that's this. It's that line there. Okay, that's the one we're just gonna keep a track of till a bit later on. The other one, so we want to find the perpendicular to this one, so M of that is going to be negative because it has to be negative. Now it's a change in X, so it's going to be 3 negative 5 over the Y, which is 4 negative 0. So negative 3 plus 5 is positive 2, and 4 minus 0 is nothing, which is, which is 2 over 4, which is, sorry, it shot off the screen there. Okay, so this tells us that we are trying to find, well, let's do the gradient. Let's do the first graph. So the first point is going to be y minus 3 equals minus 1 x minus 2. And we got the minus 3 from this point here, and we knew that the gradient of that was negative 1. So 2, 3, the gradient is negative 1. So when we come to expand this out, what is equal to negative x plus 2 plus 3, so it's going to be y equals minus x plus 5. So that's one of the equations, which is the perpendicular bisector of one of the terms, and the other one is going to be y minus 2 is going to be equal to, and this is from this one, half x goes there, and minus 4 is the other one. So y is going to be equal to half x minus 2 plus 2. You're going to cancel. Y equals a half. So we want to find where do these two lines, y equals minus half plus 5 and y equals half of x, where do they cross? Well, let's I will use calculators just now. Let's do it just because we can. So set the x together, because if y equals this and y equals this, then that equals this. So minus x plus 5 must equal to half x plus nothing. And I'm going to add an x to both sides. Okay, so go up here. 5 is going to be equal to 3 over 2 x. Therefore, x must be equal to 5 over 3 over 2, which is going to be 10 over 3. Okay. So we know the x is 10 over 3. Let's just put into either of these ones. Into this one. Over 3 x 10 over 3 times x, no, half times 10 over 3. Oh, it's late in the day. So that's going to be 10 over 6. So y in this case is 10 over 6. So our final answers, after all of the scribbling, Sanjay must be at the point x is 10 over 3, y is 10 over 6, and maybe you could probably simplify that a little bit. 10 over 3 is, yeah, around about where we assumed it was going to be, which is pretty good. It was not really a hard question. It was kind of a lot of scribbling and keeping track of where you were, keeping track of positives and negatives, but all in all, a pretty good question. I can think of another way of doing it using circle geometry and the equation for a circle, but I'm not going to do it here.